It's 3:41 in the morning, and something is wrong with the power again. The lights in the hall blinked twice and stopped trying. The studio window shows a strip of black river and a parking lot that hasn't seen a tow truck in 3 weeks. The rain that started near midnight quit at 1:12 according to the last radar pull I managed before the feed died, but gutters are still dripping on the metal, and I can hear them when the fan cuts off. My name is Adam Mercer. I'm on the second floor of an old AM station on the south side of Columbus, Ohio, east of Parsons Avenue, 3 doors down from a laundromat that ran out of quarters on day 7. You're on 810 AM if you still have a dial, and shortwave 7.520 megahertz on a coil that keeps getting warm because the antenna mast took a hit last week. If you can hear me, you still have choices. If you can't, I'm talking to myself in a brick room that smells like wires and dust and a faint sweet stink from the break room fridge we unplugged when diesel dropped to fumes. I didn't plan to be here on day 25 of the shutdown, but when the county office sent people home with box fans and a roll of paper towels, I took the station keys off a hook and kept walking. No one tried to stop me. The first hints that this would turn into more than a weekend stunt came on day 3, when the IRS site looped the same maintenance page for hours and the Social Security voice line began saying, "All agents are busy," then cut off mid-sentence. On day 4, my neighbor, the one with the leaf blower who never said hello, knocked on my door at 5:17, holding his phone like it had turned into a snake. His bank app showed maintenance window, and his credit card terminal at the hardware store said, "Offline fallback not allowed." He asked me if I had cash. I had $33 in a jar with a rubber band around it. I gave him 10 so he could buy a gallon of gas. He returned that night with a folded paper bag of batteries and a thanks that sounded like a prayer. We used to think shutdown meant slow lines at the parks and rescheduled court dates. This time, the agencies didn't just stop picking up the phone. They pulled the plugs on half the things we thought ran by themselves. Weather radar updates slowed to a crawl, then froze. NOAA still served pages for a few days, but the timestamps didn't match the sky. FAANOTAM feeds went stale. TSA said they were still screening with minimum staffing. By day 6, flights out of John Glenn got canceled for reasons no one at the counter could name. A pilot who called himself Dan told me he was stuck on the tarmac in Atlanta for 2 hours because the flight planning tool kept timing out and dispatch told them to use standard routes, which he said was like driving to another state without a map while your headlights flicker. Day 7 was the night the city alerts stopped. You know those 90-character texts about boil water notices and garbage pickup? They went out in a burst. One about conserving water as a precaution, one about a transformer fire that had no public impact, and one that read only, "Stand by for updates." After that, silence. The water plant near Dublin started running on backup because they couldn't get chemicals delivered on time. A guy named Carl who works nights out there told me they rationed coagulant and turned off 2 pumps to stretch diesel. He asked me not to say which shift. I'll say this. If your tap smells strange, boil it for 3 minutes and let it cool before you drink. Do it even if it looks clear. Old pipes can lie. I keep a notebook beside the mic. It's a school notebook with a shark on the cover that I bought on clearance 2 weeks before this began. I started writing times, names, and little arrows to show what connects. First arrow, day 2, morning. USDA stops updating food safety alerts. Same day, 2 local groceries limit milk and eggs to 1 per customer. Different managers, same rules. Posted on printer paper with a roll of blue tape. Second arrow. Day 3. Coda buses on 2 routes switch to extended intervals, which is a nice way to say, we'll come when we can. Third arrow, day 4. 911 starts playing a recorded message asking callers to stay on the line for non-life-threatening emergencies, then drops half the calls after 5 minutes. I tested it with my cell phone and counted. It cut me off at 4:59 on the dot. If you need help and you have a neighbor, knock. If you have a whistle, blow it. If you have a flare, wait until the wind dies before you set it off, because the fire trucks are sharing fuel. I should speak about money, because that's where the panic's teeth are. On day 10, the first bank branch downtown that still tried to run ATMs posted a printed-out sign that read, "Cash limit reached." I know because I walked there. The 2 machines had their bezels open, and someone had yanked the brick of bills out and set it on the floor, empty wrap showing $20,000 once lived there. The manager wore a tie and a face like he'd bitten a lemon. He told customers withdrawals by teller were limited to $200 per day, per the network. He pointed to the sign like it was a law. On day 12, an armored truck didn't make its rounds at all. People began to trade in the parking lot like it was a flea market. Gas for batteries, canned stew for baby formula. If you're holding cash, keep it flat and dry, and don't count it where others can see. Trade goods are better. You can't spend what you can't reach. What sparked suspicion for me wasn't the closed doors. It was the weather channel on the portable TV. On day 5, the ticker froze at the bottom, but the anchor's lips kept moving. On day 6, a lower third graphic read, updated at 11:03, and it was 15:22 on my watch. On day 8, the radar loop showed a storm over Kansas that had already hit Missouri based on ham reports. The loop ran like a bad screensaver. When the quiet gets that loud, you start to hear other sounds, like the substation on Parsons humming differently, or the hum dying and coming back in a slow wave. The grid isn't gone, it's stressed. Transformers like the one at Williams Road are the size of a schoolroom, and they hate heat and sudden load. If the wrong 3 fail in a row, we lose a whole side of the city for days. If you're listening east of Alum Creek, charge your devices when the fridge motor isn't fighting you. Use the heavy loads at odd times. Don't microwave while the well pump is on. Spread the pull or the breakers will do it for you. I got an email on day 9 from a man who said he used to work procurement at Defense Logistics Agency, Columbus Depot. He wrote from a burner, so I can't call him back, but he wrote like he knows what pallets weigh on concrete. He said, "Watch the bids for diesel, not the press conferences. You'll see who's ready to hold their breath." He told me the depot had a backlog of parts because the auditors who sign off on certain shipments weren't allowed to work during a shutdown. The warehouse crew could move boxes. They couldn't sign. A lot of modern life is a signature and a barcode, and both of those go through servers that sit in rooms with locks that need a badge and a live person to reset when they freeze. He said they were told to prioritize incidents of imminent harm to human life. Then he added, define imminent. I've been turning that word over like a coin in my hand. On day 10, we caught our first real whistle from the military side. A caller who said his name was Max from Wright-Patterson, or near it, left a message at 2:11, breathless, saying they were told to conserve fuel for sustainment periods and not to schedule non-critical training flights. He said maintenance had cannibalized parts from one aircraft to keep another airworthy. He said the phrase, sortie generation, and it stuck with me because it's one thing to watch a ceiling fan slow. It's another to think of pilots sitting on the ground because a $20 pin is stuck behind a locked door while the person with the key sits at home waiting for a paycheck. I don't know if Max will call again. If he does, I'll ask him to repeat that last name he said too fast the first time. I promise to include calls. Lines are weird tonight, but they work when the wind sleeps. If you get through, say your name, your city, and the time. Keep it short. Remember that someone down the block might need that same minute. This is Leah from Grove City. It's 3:49. The pharmacy on Stringtown closed the gate before noon. They're filling critical only, and they say insulin counts. But you need the prescription printed, not faxed. Our doctor's office is closed. If anyone has a spare pen, I can trade canned peaches and a pressure cooker, the kind that works on a stove. Call me on channel 3 on the walkie or knock on the green door with chipped paint. If you're sick, don't come. Leave a note in the mailbox. Leah, if you can hear me, leave a note. Yes. Write insulin and your dose and slide it inside a clear bag with a rubber band and a date. I won't read the address on the air. If anyone near Holton Road knows Leah, go check. Bring a friend. And if you meet at the curb, keep space. People hold together better when we don't have to ask them to stand back. If you are a type 1 and you're running low, rationing is scary. Use a clean syringe if you can. Keep it cool. Don't leave it on the counter near a sunny window. A basement step can be enough. The first real crack in the government's voice came at 14:03 on day 11. The White House site that had been cycling a banner about temporary funding lapse began redirecting to a plain page with an eagle seal and a paragraph that looked like a lawyer wrote it before the power blinked. No signature, no name. The TV nets carried hours of panel shows with former officials. The thing that moved the city wasn't any of that. It was the mayor's press office missing their daily update and the police Twitter account posting, "We are experiencing issues with staffing," and then nothing for 3 days. People filled that blank with stories. Some were true. On day 13, we heard 2 gunshots on Lockbourne Road, near the old plant where someone had been selling space heaters at cash-only prices. No one answered 911. We stayed away, and that felt wrong and smart at the same time. I keep having to choose how human to be on the air. Too much casual talk and people think this is a show. Too much steady voice and people swear I'm a recorded loop. The truth is, I'm tired and a little angry. I can hear my own stomach sometimes when it gets quiet. I have a bag of rice and a jar of coffee and a tin of peanut butter crackers that I keep counting like they'll breed if I look away. There's a cot in the next room with a wool blanket that smells like a wool blanket. I sleep in 20-minute pieces because the generator hates me when I don't listen to it. If I ever sound sharp, it isn't at you. It's at the door that rattles when the wind picks up and at the way the city sounds like it's holding its breath. Another call. Name's Victor. Clintonville. It's 3:55. Whetstone Park is dark. No police, no city trucks. We tried to get a generator going at my friend's place for his oxygen. The carb floods and we can't find the manual. If someone knows how to set the choke on a Tritech 3000, I'm at Indianola and Cook. We have extra gas in a red can with a black cap. I'll trade a snowblower, barely used. Please hurry. He's sleeping, but he needs it by morning. Victor, set the choke to full. Pull once, then half. If it coughs, don't go wide open. You'll flood it again. If the plug's wet, take it out, wipe it, and let it air for 10 minutes while you check the vent on the cap. If the cap's clogged, loosen it a hair. Keep the exhaust away from windows. Put the machine outside under the eave and run the longest hose you have. Not indoors. Never. Carbon monoxide doesn't care how good your day has been. If anyone near Indianola hears this, take a flashlight and go. Knock 3 times, say his name, and keep your hands where he can see them. People wake scared these days. Insiders keep saying two things that don't match. One camp says this is pressure, a big arm twist to force a deal, and that the machine will whir back to life as soon as the pens move. The other camp says we bent something by starving it this long, and when you starve a big animal, it stops running the little stuff first. Then the big stuff burns out when you feed it again. A radio tech named Sal told me on day 14 that when the emergency alert system wasn't pulled for a week, some local relays lost their sync and started acting like orphans. He said he heard a station in Zanesville repeat the same alert tone without a message for 20 minutes because the code to end the tone never arrived. He said, "We lost the end tag." I think about that at night when the station's hum slows. Sometimes the end tag is the most important piece, and no one notices it till it's gone. On day 15, a doctor from Riverside Methodist called from a stairwell. She said they were full, they were warm, and they were working by daylight because the next fuel truck turned around at a checkpoint on I-70 where a group of state troopers asked for papers the driver didn't have. I said I thought the troopers were told to stay off the roads. She said she thought so too. She said the word decentralized and laughed in a way that made my chest hurt. Not angry, tired, like she'd stopped asking why the elevator was slow and started taking the stairs without thinking. We woke up on day 16 to mail carriers walking their routes without mail. They carried letters from the city asking for volunteers to help at shelters. The letters weren't on letterhead. They looked printed in a hurry, misaligned and cut with hands. The shelter on South High had cots and warm soup for anyone who arrived by 7 p.m., then turned people away after lights out because there weren't enough staff. A teacher named Mira told me she counted 47 people in a room meant for 25. She said, "No one argued about the soup. They argued about plugs. We've become a nation of chargers and cords, and when the lights happen, people sprint for the wall. I know you want theories. You call and ask me for a single cause like a bolt you can point to. I can't give you one. I can give you a collage. Politicians stuck on set pieces. Agencies locked behind shutters. Servers missing patches because the contractors who patch them are non-essential until they are very essential, and then the call comes too late. A pipeline of spare parts that runs through rooms with laminates on the doors and chairs that inhabit them. A civil force trying to stay neutral between broken orders and angry crowds. A military told to stay ready with half a pantry. A grid that was built for one kind of weather and lives in another. And us, thinking the card would always be approved. Day 18 was when martial law started being whispered instead of denied. A clip from a station in Cincinnati aired a crawl that read, "State requests federal guard assistance for logistic support." The clip vanished an hour later, and the station carried daytime talk like nothing happened, but the guardsmen were real. A convoy rolled south on 71 with tarps over the trucks. They took the left lane and didn't stop at the gas stations. A man named Ron from Groveport watched from a bridge and counted 8 trucks and 1 Humvee with a whip antenna. They didn't turn on their sirens because what would they say? A siren without a hospital is just a noise. The media blackout isn't total, it's jagged. Some counties post on Facebook, and then the comments fill with pleas for help that no one answers. Some TV anchors do serious faces while the little clock in the corner shows a time that doesn't match anyone's phone. When a city can't lie well, that's how you know it's sick. Clear lies take energy. Murky truths take silence. We're living in the silence between departments that used to hand each other clipboards. There's a ham operator in Newark named Redcap, handle K8RED, who checks in on 3.583 every morning after dawn. He says the military networks he used to hear as dust in the band are quieter than normal. He says when you do hear traffic, it sounds like test loops and time checks and then long gaps. He says that means they're conserving or holding their breath or both. He also says a repeater on a tower near Zanesville lost power and stayed down for 2 days until he and a friend hauled a generator up a service road and ran it by hand while a storm came up from the south. He asked me not to give his name because someone would ask him for fuel. He only has 5 gallons left. If I sound like I'm talking fast, it's because I can feel the transmitter getting warm. When it warms, it trips a safety, and I must power cycle, or we'll lose the night until the wind cools the cabinet. So, instructions in case we drop. If you're alone, write the names of 3 people who live within walking distance. Tape the list to your door with a note that says, "Check on me if this page turns gray," and draw a little checkbox next to each name. People like boxes. If you're with family, set 1 shelf for shared food and 1 for traded food and don't mix them. If you're on meds, write your dosage and put it in 2 places. If you have a battery radio, mark this frequency in pencil on the side, 8:10 a.m., 7.520 megahertz. If you have a whistle, keep it around your neck. If you have a gun, keep it pointed at the floor unless you must use it. And if you must, remember there's no redo. Scare first, talk second. Only then decide. That's my opinion. I'm a radio man with soft hands. I won't judge what you do to keep someone breathing. A message slid under the station door last night. No name, just block letters. It said, Union County Sheriff's Office requesting volunteers with trucks to move water from Marysville plant to Plain City. Call on GMRS 462.675 at noon. I don't know if the call will still happen. If you own a truck and your conscience won't let you sit, tune in at noon and listen. If it's a trap, they picked a strange bait. Water is too heavy to steal twice. We have time for 1 more call before I cool the set. This is Denise, West Broad, near Hague. It's 4:07. A group in reflective vests with no patches walked the street tonight, knocking on doors, saying they were assessing needs. They carried clipboards and flashlights and didn't give a number to call. My youngest cried after they left. I kept the chain on. If anyone else saw them, tell me what they asked. Denise, if anyone in vests knocks, ask for a card you can take a picture of. If they don't give you one, note the time and what they wore and the question they asked first. Real assessors start with, "Are you safe?" Fakes start with, "Do you have cash?" Don't tell strangers you're out of medicine. Say, "We're okay, thanks," and close the door. If your porch light works, turn it on and off twice to signal your neighbor you need a check-in. We need signals now because words get heavy. People keep asking me for hope. Here is mine. The sky at 4:10 is a dark blue that isn't empty. The clouds are thinned to gauze along the west, and I can see 1 star over the courthouse dome that looks like a pin in a map. There are more of us than we think. We don't need all of us. We need enough of us to keep the line open and the water moving and the generators running on the right sides of windows. We need enough of us to bring soup to Leah and a wrench to Victor, and to tell Denise that vests without names are just jackets. I was a sports stringer before this. I wrote about high school football games in towns that smell like popcorn and diesel. I remember a coach in Circleville who lost 3 games in a row and stood on the grass while people packed their folding chairs and said, "We fix the next right thing." We don't fix the final score. I wrote it down like it was nonsense. I believe it now. The next right thing, not the final score. If all you do today is walk to the basement and check the battery in the smoke alarm and leave a note on a door. That is a point on the board. I'll cool the rig for 10 minutes. If we drop, count to 600 and try again. If you can't hear me at 420, assume I'm swapping fuses or the wind changed. Repeat this. You are not alone. Write it if you must. We will come back. The line will hum. The needle will lift. The river outside the window will still be there, stubborn as a scraped knee, and the gutters will keep their soft tap like fingers on a table. Keep your water clean, your flame small, your voice steady. I'm Adam on 810 and 7.520, and I am here as long as this old box lets me be. It's 4:19. The light on the transmitter just winked from green to orange and back. A small thing, but tonight small things are maps. If you have a map, draw this station on it. If you don't, hold the shape of the dial in your head like a coin. I'll be back when the coil cools. Hold. It's 5:03 now, and I'm back. The generator caught on the first pull, which is rare. Maybe it's a sign, or maybe the fuel settled right overnight. Either way, the hum's back, and so am I. The window shows a thin strip of pink above the rooftops. Sunrise, or what passes for it through the haze. Smoke or fog, hard to tell anymore. Columbus used to wake up early. Trucks down High Street, garbage pickup, the low thunder of interstate traffic. Now it's so quiet I can hear the station clock ticking behind the glass. That's how you know things changed. Silence moves in where the living used to be. Someone left a hand-drawn map taped to the door downstairs. No words, just arrows and a symbol that looks like a droplet inside a square. Could be nothing, could be something. I took it down, dried it out under the desk lamp. People are starting to use symbols now, like the old hobo code from the Depression. Some mean safe, others mean danger. I think the droplet means water source nearby, but nearby doesn't mean safe. Someone's either trying to help or lure. At this point, there's not much difference. Day 25 feels like we're living between two clocks. The digital world died slow, but the physical one never stopped. You can still boil water, mend a shoe, read a map. The shutdown broke the machines that tell us how bad things are. When systems fail quietly, the silence is worse than the noise. No bulletins, no dashboards, just the waiting. I heard from a caller named June last night, but the signal was weak. She said she works, or worked, for the state treasury office. She used a phrase I've never heard before. Static freeze. Said it means the automated payments and transfers were halted, not by accident, but by internal safeguard. Once it triggers, it locks everything until a federal override key is turned. Only problem? No one's around to turn it. She said her office was told to leave their badges and laptops in a box labeled Hold. She laughed, but it wasn't funny. Her words stuck with me. When no one owns the keys anymore, the vault becomes the grave. Some of you keep asking why the power grid is still half alive when everything else collapsed. The answer's grim and simple. Automation. The grid's smart enough to stay alive in pieces. Each segment balances itself, like a body missing organs, but still breathing shallowly. But without dispatchers to rebalance load across regions, these isolated pockets, microgrids they call them, burn out one by one. A line worker from Dayton called it death by flicker. Said they're running on autopilot until the breakers fry. He said, "We're ghosts keeping ghosts alive." I'm starting to lose track of the days. The paper calendar on the wall still shows October, and I keep meaning to tear off the pages, but it feels like admitting something final. I'll do it when I'm ready. 0515. There's a truck outside. I can't see who's driving. It's white, no plates. Just parked across the street with the engine off. It's been there for 20 minutes. Could be abandoned, could be a listener, could be both. I'll leave the lights dim for now. Got another message slipped under the door this morning. Transmissions heard repeating out of Dayton on 7.605 megahertz, calling itself Central Civil Authority. Audio loop of a man reading coordinates. I tuned in. Nothing but a faint carrier wave and static, no voice. But someone's trying to mimic official signals. Could be rogue ham operators. Could be military testing fallback comms. The coordinates, if they're real, trace near Wright-Patterson, which makes sense. Military's got redundancies. But they're not talking to us, not really. They're talking to themselves. If anyone near Dayton can confirm that signal, let me know. Write it on your door, on a note. Shout it if you have to. We're mapping the living by their noise now. Another caller's waiting on shortwave relay. I'll patch through. This is Robert from Hilliard. Time is 5:18. We found 3 trucks overturned on Cemetery Road. No drivers. Cargo looked like bottled water. All labels blacked out with marker. We took some, but one man said not to drink it. Smelled like bleach. 2 of us are sick now. Stomach cramps. Dizziness. If you're hearing this, test the water before you drink. Please, tell people to stop trusting the labels. Robert, I heard you. People, if you find sealed goods with stripped labels, don't assume safety. Boil if possible. Use charcoal filters if you have them. Smell before sip. Bleach smell means treated, but too much means poison. If you're near Hilliard, stay away from that site. Leave markings for others. Draw an X on the road with chalk, ash, or mud. Anything visible from a distance. I keep wondering when this became more than a shutdown. Governments pause, budgets lapse, but this feels engineered, like someone shut off the volume slowly to see who'd notice first. Some say cyber attack. Some say a coup within bureaucracy. Others think no one's in charge anymore, that the machine runs on leftover code. I don't know which is worse. I got an email before the servers died from a man claiming to be part of a continuity council. He said, "We have power. We have storage. We have no mandate." He mentioned deep shelter levels and failed quorum. He signed it TL. No reply channel. I keep rereading that message like it'll change meaning. 0527. I'm drinking instant coffee that tastes like burnt paper. The tin's almost empty. My hands shake, not from fear, from hunger. I think of the people still out there. Leah, Victor, Denise. I wonder if they're still listening. If the batteries lasted. If they marked their doors. There's a rumor spreading through the ham bands. Washington, D.C. went dark on day 22. No verified video, just word of mouth. Silent skyline, they say. Could be blackout. Could be evacuation. The Potomac feeds strange stories. One operator said he saw drone footage showing smoke near the Capitol, but it cut off midstream. The link's dead now. When the government stops speaking, everyone else becomes a prophet. And prophets are dangerous. 0533. The truck's gone. No lights, no sound. Just vanished. The sky's brighter now. Birds are back near the wires. First time I've seen that in days. Maybe they know something we don't. I'll read a note someone left at the door last night. Handwritten, shaky lines. My name is Roger, former electrical engineer. We've rigged a small power loop using car alternators and bike cranks. It keeps a light bulb on for 6 hours if 2 people pedal. We're near Canal Winchester. Broadcast the word, "Power is muscle now." Roger, if you're still listening, you're onto something. Manual power loops can keep small gear alive. If anyone's near him, look for the water tower with faded letters. Help if you can. The age of electricity's ending, one leg press at a time. 0541. I'll stay on a bit longer before letting the transmitter cool. If you're awake and listening, write this down. No one's coming soon. But someone might come later. Survive long enough to see who. Stay low. Stay kind. Stay alive. This is Adam Mercer, still broadcasting from the edge of Columbus. You're tuned to 8:10 a.m. and 7.520 megahertz. The signal might fade, but I'll still be here. It's 7:19 now. The sky's pale and uneven, the kind of light that looks sick, like it can't decide between morning and smoke. The generator coughed 3 times before it caught. Every sound feels heavier now, like the world's running out of background noise. Day 26. Continuing coverage. Columbus is still alive, if you can call it that. The air smells of wet asphalt and burned rubber. Someone torched a car near the freeway during the night. Probably for warmth, maybe for signal. That's the new Morse code. Smoke instead of dots and dashes. I stepped outside the studio for the first time in 2 days. The street looked hollow. Every window dark. A flag tangled around a pole. The wind moves it, but not enough to make it wave. It just twitches, like a muscle that's forgotten how to function. The city used to have this constant vibration. Traffic, HVAC units, airliners overhead. That's all gone. The silence is like pressure now. It hums behind your ears. You start to imagine sounds. Footsteps, whispers, an engine that isn't there. But the only sound left is your own breath. I picked up a flyer off the ground. Wrinkled, damp, printed in bold type. State security protocols now in effect. Curfew 20 hours. Non-compliance subject to detention. No date, no signature. Just a blank seal that looks printed from an office inkjet. So yes, martial law, if you can call it that. But no one's enforcing it. It's law without the men behind it. The first sign came last night when I saw the lights over the river. A line of trucks, maybe 10, maybe more, moving north without headlights. They crossed the bridge and vanished into the east. A few hours later, power flickered across 3 blocks, then died. Not random, targeted. Someone's cutting power zones to control movement. That's not collapse. That's strategy. If you're listening near Reynoldsburg, Blacklick, or Pataskala, stay put. Don't go west after dark. Reports say National Guard vehicles are patrolling without insignia. Some carry loudspeakers, but no announcements. They just loop the siren and move slow through intersections, then disappear before sunrise. It's like they're rehearsing something. 7:26. A message came in from a man identifying himself only as H, sent over ham relay 3.882 megahertz. It read, Columbus Logistics Corridor under partial military control. Expect ration seizures. Orders not coming from the state. Signatures don't match. Verify every order, every seal. False coordination units operating under Homeland Continuity Division. Spread with caution. If true, that means rogue military fragments, or civil defense pretending to be federal. Either way, it means confusion by design. I remember what a FEMA contact told me back when this started. The first thing to die in a crisis isn't order, it's the chain of command. Now we're living in that truth. Another call just patched in. Audio's rough, but clear enough. This is Meredith from Zanesville. It's 7:28. We saw soldiers at the gas depot last night. They said they were moving supplies to contain unrest in the city, but no one could show ID. When a man asked where their CO was, one pointed his rifle at him. I think they're scared. They're kids. One couldn't have been older than 20. Meredith, if you're listening, thank you for reporting. If they're young, it means the chains snapped lower down. These aren't full divisions. They're fragments. Command groups trying to maintain relevance. And scared men with guns are more dangerous than looters. 0731. There's another rumor spreading through ham bands about a sabotage attempt on the Delaware substation. Some say an explosion, others say it was a fire caused by overheating circuits. Either way, it blacked out half the northern grid. Someone, maybe vigilantes, maybe insiders, cut the fiber lines before it happened. You don't cut power and fiber unless you're trying to make a place disappear. The mayor's office used to have redundancy generators. They went silent 2 days ago. Since then, the city's decisions come from paper notices nailed to community boards, like something from the 1800s. Yesterday, a notice appeared outside City Hall. Hand-stamped seal, blue ink. Citizen order. Remain within residential zones after sunset. Self-defense measures permitted. Unauthorized gatherings prohibited. So, they gave people permission to defend themselves. That's not protection. That's surrender, written in official font. 0737. I got a letter slipped under the door again. This time typed, not handwritten. Station 810 identified as unsanctioned broadcast. Cease transmission or face seizure of equipment. Signed, Emergency Information Service, Division 4. No stamp, no address, just a threat with no sender. So, yes, they're listening. Or someone is. If this is the Division 4 that H mentioned, they want the remaining frequencies silent. The fewer voices, the easier the control. If they come for the tower, I'll keep transmitting on backup frequency 7.509. Write that down. 7.509 megahertz. That's the fallback. 740. People have started building what they call frequency communities. Little networks of shortwave listeners who share survival data, barter lists, and warnings. It's not organized, more like 1,000 little hearts beating in the dark. If you're one of them, keep logs. Write dates. Record who speaks. We'll need those records someday, if days keep coming. A caller from Dayton left a message. This isn't chaos. It's a test. They're measuring how long we can function without the machine. I don't know if that's true, but the word test fits too well to ignore. 7:45. You ever notice how the birds stopped singing around certain hours? Between midnight and 3, nothing. Even they're adapting to the grid's rhythm. Life follows electricity now. Light means risk, dark means safety. I used to laugh at that thought. Now I live by it. There's a man out there named Orrin. Says he's a former comms officer from Right Pat. He contacted me over analog line 2 nights ago. Said, we built the system to survive nukes, not neglect. Said the backup generators are eating themselves alive. Oil thick, filters black. Said their command feed's been reading the same last message for 12 days. Awaiting civilian authority confirmation. That line says it all. No one's left to confirm. 0751. My hands are shaking again. Not from fear. From caffeine and hunger and something deeper. That dull dread you get when you realize we might never go back to before. I keep thinking about Leah's voice. Her calm, careful words. Victor's choke in his throat. Denise turning her porch light on and off to signal her neighbor. Small kindnesses in the middle of a slow extinction. We're all still pretending this is temporary, But if you're listening, stop waiting for normal. Normal packed up and left weeks ago. What we have now is raw life, the stripped-down version, the one with fewer options and higher stakes, the one where you trade quiet for safety. 0756. Outside, the sun's breaking through the haze for a second. It lights up the cracked paint on the station wall. It's ugly but real. I'll cool the transmitter in a few minutes. Let it breathe. If it burns out, the line goes dark for good. Before I go, remember this. If someone knocks and claims to be government, ask for a badge and a frequency code. The real ones always carry both. The fakes carry guns. And if you can still hear me when the night comes, don't waste power on lights. Use flame only if you must. Darkness keeps you invisible. This is Adam Mercer, transmitting from Columbus on 8:10 a.m. and 7.520 megahertz. Hold steady. I'll return after the generator rests. It's 9:02 now. The air's heavy again. Feels like rain, but the clouds aren't moving. There's that thick quiet that comes before the sky decides to break. The station's been running off the backup battery for almost an hour. I shut down the generator to save the last few liters of fuel. I keep it in a plastic drum under the stairs, hidden beneath a blanket that still smells like smoke. I told myself I'd start rationing last week, but I've been lying to myself in small ways. It's how you stay sane. This is day 27 of the shutdown. If that word even means anything anymore. The government didn't shut down. It fell asleep and forgot to wake up. The last stable transmission I caught was from Chicago at 3:17. The voice was calm, Midwestern, probably a local operator like me. He said, "This will be the last broadcast from WCBL. Downtown grid failure complete. We are abandoning the city." Then static. Just like that. No goodbye, no sign-off. Chicago's gone dark. 9 million people, vanished from the airwaves in under a day. The pattern spreading outward. First Washington, then Philadelphia, now Chicago. I keep hearing Cincinnati still faintly online. AM 920, if you can catch the signal between the noise. They play recorded loops of old civil defense messages from the 60s, the ones about fallout shelters and rationing. Some kid probably found a tape deck in a bunker and thought it mattered again. Maybe it does. 9:08. The phones have been dead for 2 days, but a hand-delivered message reached me at dawn, left under the door again, written on legal paper with a red marker. Interstate corridors I-70, I-71, closed by armed barricades. Do not travel. Marshal groups identifying as Recovery Command, stopping vehicles north of Jeffersonville. Reports of civilians detained. No confirmed releases. They used to call those checkpoints. Now they're filters. If anyone near Jeffersonville can confirm this, flash a mirror westward at noon. I'll be watching from the roof. It's old-fashioned, but reflection still works better than any app. I keep thinking about a conversation I had with a man named Dale, a train conductor from Newark. He said on day 14 that the rail networks were being locked in place. Dispatchers told crews to park trains on main lines and remove ignition keys. The idea was to preserve rolling stock, but now the trains are coffins, hundreds of them sitting like skeletons on rusting rails, loaded with grain, fuel, medicine. All inaccessible because no one wants to sign a paper that doesn't exist anymore. That's the madness of bureaucracy. It outlives the people who built it. 9:13. I just got a signal ping from an unknown shortwave relay out of Michigan. Weak, broken voice repeating the phrase, "Phase line gray established." civil order collapsing in southern sectors, prioritize thermal grid defense, no coordinates, no unit ID. Thermal grid defense could mean anything. Power infrastructure, maybe data centers, or maybe something military. Either way, it confirms what we already know. Someone's still giving orders, even if no one's receiving them. The human mind doesn't do well with silence. I've noticed the longer people go without confirmation, the more they fill the blanks. I've been guilty of that too. Sometimes I imagine this broadcast is being picked up by hundreds of people, families around candlelight, listening like it's church again. Other times, I think maybe I'm speaking into nothing. I should talk about the collapse in detail for anyone keeping record. At 6:40 a.m. this morning, the northern power grid failed between Toledo and Fort Wayne. Ham chatter confirms transformer fires near Lima. Video from one operator, grainy and green, showed electrical arcs stretching across entire substations, flashing like lightning trapped in a cage. It's not sabotage anymore. It's systemic failure. When transformers overheat, they bleed copper. And once that metal melts, you can't fix it. You can only replace it, and there's no one left manufacturing replacements. By 7 a.m., the Ohio River shipping network stopped responding. Barges stranded mid-channel. Radio beacons silent. One captain from Marietta tried to report via analog set. He said the water level sensors were locked in diagnostic. Then his feed died. That means the Corps of Engineers servers are offline. River control's gone. So now, the entire central corridor, power, transport, communication, is a dead vein. 9:22. The wind just shifted. I can smell ozone. Something metallic, electrical. I think a storm's forming, but the radar's been frozen for 5 days. If you're near low ground, move uphill. The drains are clogged, and flash floods hit harder when no one maintains pumps. I'll read you an excerpt from a log I found on an abandoned laptop here at the station. It's from a Department of Energy technician. It's dated day 10. Multiple power relays out of sync. No authorization to reset due to legal hold. Federal coordination unavailable. Internal protocol dictates standby until override. Note: human override inaccessible. Requires Treasury verification server. That last part explains everything. The grid literally can't restart without financial clearance. Money became the lock on the switch. We built a system that won't turn itself back on because it's waiting for permission from a department that no longer exists. 9:28. There's been a rumor, maybe more than that, about a convoy leaving DC before the blackout. Some say it carried cabinet officials. Others say it was empty decoys. No one's seen it since. A few frequencies reference Convoy August, but it could be a code word or just a ghost story. A man named Phil from Chillicothe claims to have seen a black convoy on day 20 heading west down Route 50. 6 unmarked SUVs, tinted windows, moving with military precision. No lights, no plates. They turned off before Circleville. That's the last confirmed sighting. If true, that convoy's still somewhere in the Midwest. Maybe they're setting up a new capital. Or maybe they're just running until the fuel runs out like everyone else. 9:34. I've started writing everything down in a ledger. Names, frequencies, weather, rumors. I don't know if anyone will read it, but maybe someday someone will find it and realize there were voices trying to make sense of this. A caller left this message 2 nights ago. I didn't play it until now because I wasn't sure it was real. Adam, this is Ron from the Delaware Water Station. We've been getting strange readings, like interference in the pressure sensors, not mechanical. Radio signals overlapping with the telemetry. It's like someone's hijacking the control systems remotely. We tried cutting the uplink, but the pumps turned on by themselves. It's not us anymore, man. It's not us. I played that message 3 times. The voice was terrified but steady. If that's true, someone or something still controls parts of our infrastructure remotely. Not local, not state. Something bigger. 9:38. A bird just hit the window. Small one. Sparrow, I think. It lay there for a few seconds, then flew off. There's something about that. How even the smallest thing keeps moving forward by instinct, while we sit here trying to decode the world. Maybe that's what survival really is. Motion without permission. I'll read one more note before cooling the line. This one came from Leah. Yes, that Leah from Grove City. It was delivered by hand, folded in half, tied with string. I didn't think I'd hear from her again. Still here. Got insulin from a retired nurse 2 blocks over. Trade system works. Food for meds. Meds for light. We meet twice a week behind the church. We call it the exchange. No leaders, no cash. Just people who want to live. Don't let them tell us it's over. I won't, Leah. Not while this mic still hums. It's 9:46 now. The lights flickered once. Means the main line's unstable. I'll keep the transmitter running for 5 more minutes before switching to battery relay. If you're still listening, mark your homes with symbols. Help strangers if they knock softly. Keep one secret for yourself. It's the only currency left. This is Adam Mercer, broadcasting from what's left of Columbus, Ohio. 8:10 a.m. and 7.520 megahertz. The world may be ending in slow motion, but we're still on the air. It's 10:37 now. The sun's climbing, but it doesn't bring warmth anymore. Just glare. I taped cardboard over half the studio window to keep the light from hitting the equipment. Heat makes the boards warp, and when that happens, the static rises. Static is death in here. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the generator hiccuping. I keep thinking of the noise the city used to make, a kind of heartbeat under everything. Even the bad sounds were comforting. Sirens meant someone still cared. Traffic meant people had somewhere to go. Now, it's all gone. The quiet's so total, it feels alive. This is day 28 of the shutdown. Day 28 since silence became the new language of authority. I caught something strange just before dawn. A clean, strong signal on shortwave 5.874 megahertz. That frequency's been dead since week 1. But for 10 minutes, it came alive. Steady tone. Then a female voice reading in plain English. Continuity Zone Alpha established. Proceed to Level 3 clearance for sustainment protocol. Civilian interaction restricted. Repeat. Zone Alpha secured. No call sign. No origin tag. The transmission repeated twice, then cut off mid-sentence. I checked the map after sunrise. Zone Alpha isn't on anything printed, but the relay coordinates triangulate somewhere east of Indianapolis, maybe 40 miles out, deep in rural territory. That puts it near an old FEMA cold storage facility. I remember it vaguely. It was built in the 1980s, officially decommissioned 10 years ago. If that's what they're calling Zone Alpha, then someone's reopened it. But why now? People always assumed continuity of government meant bunkers under mountains. Maybe it's smaller than that now. Maybe Zone Alpha is the new capital, a handful of people and a generator holding on to the illusion of structure. 10:42. I'm holding a printed letter I found in one of the desk drawers here at the station, dated October 2nd, before the total blackout. The letterhead reads, Department of Homeland Communications. It's unsigned. The last paragraph reads, In the event of prolonged funding lapse, communication infrastructure will transfer to autonomous oversight. Redundant network control will be governed by the CIV-9 system until reauthorization by cabinet-level authority. CIV-9. That phrase has been floating around ham channels for days now. Some say it's an AI, some say it's a defense automation system. But if that's what's running our communications grid, then it's not government that's holding this country together. It's code. Lines of it. Maybe that's why no one can turn anything back on. The system's waiting for a signal that'll never come. A password typed by someone who no longer exists. 10:47. I'm going to read a relay message that came in at 9:12, sent from an operator calling himself Holloway, broadcasting from somewhere near Springfield. Transmission intercept confirms presence of active encrypted packets originating from Zone Alpha. Pattern matches known CIV-9 encryption. Packets repeat every 17 minutes exactly. Suggests autonomous control rather than human operator. If you're not technical, that means there's a machine still talking to itself every 17 minutes, keeping some kind of pulse alive. A heartbeat in the dark. If CIV-9 is real, it explains a lot. The staggered grid resets, the selective city blackouts, the automated government messages that still pop up on old terminals, even though no one's home to type them. It's all machine behavior, patterned, consistent, but empty. Someone handed over the keys to the infrastructure, and now the caretaker's forgotten who it works for. 10:51. Another report. This one from Danielle in Chillicothe. She's been relaying calls through a battery-powered repeater since day 18. She says the Ohio National Guard's local command has split, half following direct orders from an unknown uplink, half refusing to act without verified human authorization. The word they're using is fragmentation. She said one sergeant told her, "The machines still know who we are. They just don't care." It's hard to confirm, but I believe her. I've been hearing clicking on the line, tiny bursts, too regular to be interference. Could be CIV-9 pings scanning frequencies, maybe searching for working transmitters. I thought about shutting down for a while to stay hidden, but silence helps them more than it helps us. Silence is surrender. 10:56. I received a message written in pencil on lined paper, slipped through the mail slot an hour ago. Whoever left it did it quietly. I never heard footsteps. It reads, "Don't trust the coordination orders. They're calling people in for re-registration. They scan retinas, then cut communications. Our town lost 12 in one night. It's not relocation. It's quarantine. E. McCarthy, Mount Vernon. Quarantine. That word again. The one that always shows up right before the real panic starts. 11:01. There's a hum above the building. Distant, like heavy turbines. Not thunder. It's rhythmic, mechanical. Might be low-flying drones. The sound fades, then returns, circling. I'll keep talking in case anyone's listening nearby. If you're hearing this, know this much. The shutdown wasn't about budgets. It was containment. The kind that looks like neglect, but feels like precision. Systems that fail, just slow enough to make you doubt your own paranoia. A retired systems engineer called last night, said he worked on redundancy protocols for government data centers in Virginia. He told me, the fail-safes weren't meant to keep the lights on. They were meant to keep the wrong hands off the switch. So when the politicians disappeared, the machines sealed the doors. Everything after that was just gravity. 11:07. I'm starting to hear myself echo. There's no one else in this building. but sometimes I catch a faint repeat of my words half a second later. Could be bounce back, could be interference, but sometimes it feels like something's repeating me on purpose. The rain finally started, soft at first, then steady. It hits the glass with a slow rhythm that feels too human. I got another handwritten message from a woman who signs her name Tess. She says she's been picking up shortwave bleed from the west. She wrote, "The voice says the same phrase every night at 2 a.m. Continuity is mercy." It's not a threat, it's worse. It's reassurance from something that doesn't feel fear. If you hear that phrase, continuity is mercy, don't respond. Don't transmit back. Stay dark. 11:13. I've been broadcasting for nearly a month now. My voice sounds older than it used to. I don't try to hide the fatigue anymore. It's part of the record. If there's anyone left in a position of command, real command, human command, your silence is killing the rest of us. The cities are turning into ghost languages, and your machines are still out here reciting prayers to themselves. I'll keep this transmitter alive as long as I can. I owe that much to Leah, Victor, Denise, to everyone who ever called this frequency looking for proof they weren't alone. It's 11:17 now. The hum's still circling overhead. If anyone near Indianapolis hears a steady tone on 5.874 megahertz repeating every 17 minutes, record it. Send coordinates if you can. Zone Alpha is real. And whatever's running, it doesn't need us anymore. This is Adam Mercer, still transmitting from Columbus on 8:10 a.m. and 7.520 megahertz. If you're still out there, stay human. End of transmission for now.